Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please hit the subscribe now. This start video. Anna stood before the ornate dark wood door of Jim Bob and Michelle's study, her hand trembling slightly as she raised it to knock. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing the turmoil within. For years, she had lived by a rigid code, a tapestry woven from scripture and family tradition, where divorce was an unspeakable word, a betrayal of God's design. But the threads of that tapestry had unraveled one by one until only a tattered, painful remnant remained. She knocked, a soft, hesitant sound that seemed swallowed by the oppressive quiet. A moment later, the door creaked open, revealing Jim Bob, his usually jovial face etched with a familiar sternness. His eyes, quick and assessing, swept over her, lingering on the subtle tremor in her hands, the faint shadows beneath her eyes. "Anna," he greeted, his voice a low rumble. "Come in." She stepped into the study, a room that always felt more like a courtroom than a place of comfort. Bookshelves lined with theological texts towered over them, silent witnesses to countless family discussions, admonishments, and pronouncements. Michelle sat on a plush armchair, her hands clasped in her lap, her expression a mask of gentle concern that Anna had long learned to distrust. "Jim Bob, Michelle," Anna began, her voice surprisingly steady, though it felt alien to her own ears. I've made a decision." Jim Bob's eyebrows, thick and dark, furrowed deeper. "A decision, dear, about what?" I took a deep breath, the scent of old paper and polished wood filling my lungs. "About my marriage. About Josh." A flicker of something, surprise, annoyance, resignation, crossed Michelle's face before it settled back into placid serenity. Jim Bob, however, remained impassive, his gaze unwavering. "Anna, we've been over this," Jim Bob said, his voice laced with an edge of impatience. "Marriage is a sacred covenant, for better or worse, in sickness and in health." "And what about in betrayal, Jim Bob?" Anna interrupted, the words escaping before she could rein them in. Her voice rose, a tremor now undeniable. "In deceit? In the complete and utter destruction of trust?" Jim Bob leaned forward, his hands resting on the desk. "Anna, we all stumble. Josh has sought forgiveness. He's been through the program. He's working to redeem himself." "Redeem himself," I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "He's had countless chances, Jim Bob, and each time he's proven that his promises are as hollow as his apologies. I can't live like this anymore. Our children deserve better. I deserve better." Michelle finally spoke, her voice soft, almost a whisper. "Anna, dear, think of the children. A broken home? The scandal? What will people say?" "What will people say?" I echoed, my eyes flashing. "What will people say when they see a mother and her children living in a perpetual state of fear and heartbreak? What will people say when they realize that sticking it out means sacrificing my soul and my children's peace for the sake of appearances?" I paused, gathering my strength. "I'm filing for divorce." The words hung in the air, shattering the fragile peace of the room. Jim Bob's face hardened, a mask of unbelief and anger. Michelle gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Divorce?" Jim Bob thundered, pushing himself up from his chair. "Anna, you can't. This is an abomination. You are breaking a sacred vow before God." "Josh broke that vow first, Jim Bob," I cried, tears finally brimming in my eyes. He broke it repeatedly, shamelessly, and without remorse. And you, Jim Bob, you enabled him. You protected him. You told me to pray harder, to forgive more, while he continued to destroy everything. Jim Bob leaned forward, his hands resting on the desk. Anna, you are being rash. You are letting the devil whisper lies into your ear. This is not God's will. God's will is for me to be safe, Jim Bob, I retorted, my voice cracking with emotion. God's will is for my children to grow up in a home free from deceit and pain. God's will is for me to find peace, and I can't find it here. Not with him, not with this constant charade. Just then, the door burst open, and Josh stood there, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and desperation. He must have been listening, lurking just outside the door, as he so often did. Anna, no, you can't do this, he pleaded, rushing into the room. He dropped to his knees before her, grabbing her hands, his grip surprisingly strong. Please, Anna, don't leave me. I've changed, I swear it. I'll do anything you want. His voice was hoarse, choked with tears. He looked up at me, his eyes pleading, his face contorted in a mask of raw anguish. It was a performance I had seen countless times, a well-rehearsed act designed to elicit sympathy, to manipulate, to draw me back into his web of deceit. I'll go to therapy, real therapy this time. I'll get a job. I'll be the husband you deserve, the father our children deserve. Just please don't leave me. Don't take the children away. I looked down at him, my heart a cold, hard knot in my chest. The Josh that I had married, the one I had loved, was long gone, replaced by this desperate, manipulative shadow. I saw through his tears, through his pleas. It was not genuine remorse, but fear. Fear of losing control, fear of facing the consequences of his actions. I gently, but firmly, pulled my hands away from his grasp. It's too late, Josh. The trust is gone. It's been gone for a long time. Josh scrambled to his feet, his desperation turning to anger. You can't do this to me, to us. What about our vows? What about our family? You'll destroy everything. You destroyed everything, Josh, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Not me. I'm just picking up the pieces. Jim Bob, who had been watching the exchange with a stony expression, finally spoke, his voice cold and devoid of his usual paternal warmth. Anna, if you go through with this, you will be turning your back on everything we believe in, on this family, on God's plan. I turned to face him, my chin lifting defiantly. And if I stay, Jim Bob, I will be turning my back on myself, on my children's well-being, on my own sanity. I looked from Jim Bob to Michelle, then back to Josh, who stood slumped, defeated, his earlier theatrics replaced by a chilling emptiness. The weight of their disapproval, their judgment, was immense, but for the first time in years, I felt a strange lightness, a sense of liberation. I'm leaving, I stated, my voice clear and resolute. I'm taking the children and I'm starting over. Jim Bob stared at her, his face a mask of stone. He said nothing, his silence a powerful, chilling condemnation. It was a silence that spoke volumes. You are on your own. You have chosen your path, and it is not ours. He turned slowly, deliberately, and walked away with his back to me, disappearing into the depths of the house without another word, without a backward glance. Michelle remained, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity and disapproval, but she too offered no comfort, no support. Josh, still reeling from Anna's rejection, watched Jim Bob walk away, a flicker of something akin to fear in his eyes. The protective shield that had always been there, the unspoken assurance of his father's unwavering support, seemed to have vanished. I felt a pang of something, not regret, but a deep, profound sadness for the family I was leaving behind, for the life I had once envisioned. But beneath the sadness, a fragile seed of hope began to sprout. I turned and walked out of the study, leaving behind the suffocating silence, the judgment, and the broken promises. As I stepped out into the crisp evening air, I took a deep, cleansing breath. The air had never tasted so sweet, so free.